that I want to comment on is bien pretty. The, the story can be very simply summarized by saying that it's a love story. So a woman meets this guy who, along the way, will all of the sudden end up his relationship with her. And she will have to go through a process of grieving and finding a strength in up to extent recollections about strong women that she knows of to somehow become herself back again. And the last moment in the story is a kind of poetic description of the emotional situation she's going through when she, in my interpretation of the story, when she's regaining her strength finally. And that's why we have a description of blackbirds flying all over the place and starlings also in kind of a little battle of sorts, occupying the sky and flying all over the place. That's my interpretation of the resolution in this case of the conflict the character feels, being that she had to deal with that rejection of sorts from this guy. Okay, but that's like the outer shell of the core of this story. And what I see as more relevant for the story is the clashing encounter between a Mexican American woman and a guy from Mexico. So here we have again the Chicana character that goes through a difficult moment and having to face up to the reality of being who she is. But this can be, in this case, and this is underlined by the fact that she starts this relationship, love relationship, with this unique, according to her own description, Mexican individual. So the most important moment for me was when on page, starting from page maybe 148, she describes Flavio, the Mexican man. Initially, he says of himself that he's a poet, although he works as an exterminator. And I think the way she describes the Mexican guy, Flavio, is kind of subtle. And if you don't pay attention to how she, in fact, is celebrating the kind of individual he is, you will miss the main point of the story for me, which is the revelation that no matter what, she's a Chicana, that is to say, a person of Mexican descent who was brought up here in the States. And for that very reason, she's in love with this guy who shows her who she's not, and maybe who she is as well. So the love that she may feel for this guy stems from the fact that she's unlike him, and she likes him precisely because maybe he reminds her of what she is not, and at the same time she treasures precisely that. And so the guy is like an embodiment of the Mexican, or the Mexico even, that she knows, she realizes she will never necessarily go into. Okay. So For example, when the guy Flavio is telling that story about her grandma and her grandpa, and how he she finds him kissing another woman one day, it's very important in the sense that the grandma makes a decision to take everything that she treasures in her house, along with, I believe, her daughter, and simply leaves the house, right, to be at a relative's house. And then when the grandfather goes to beg for um, some kind of reconciliation, she does not take the excuse that she presents to her, and she leaves for good. Now, that seems to be a story like in passing, but I think that um, this is one important reason why she starts, the protagonist starts becoming more and more interested in the Mexican guy. Here is a moment where, just like in passing, he's telling her, see, my grandma, how she was this terrific, strong, strong-willed woman who did not take BS that easily. And she made a big decision for her life, and she didn't look back. That's the kind of woman that almost at the end of the story, the protagonist will celebrate, because she will be talking about those strong women that she's always been close to in reality, she says, but not necessarily like in fiction or in telenovelas, in soap operas, or in like in books, right?